welcome to this special podcast as part of Honeywell and CNBC-TV18 present India Energy Transition Summit. I'm Mridu Bhandari. India stands at a pivotal moment in its energy journey, pushing the boundaries of innovation to balance rapid growth with environmental responsibility. As the global energy landscape evolves, the role of cutting-edge technologies and strategic partnerships has never been more critical in driving a sustainable transition. Today, we'll uncover how businesses and individuals can contribute to a greener future and what it takes to shape a sustainable energy ecosystem. Joining me to shed light on this and more is Ranjit Kulkarni, Vice President and General Manager of Energy and Sustainability Solutions at Honeywell India. Ranjit, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Mridu, and thank you for having me back again over here. It's again always interesting and exciting to talk about energy transition because, believe it or not, it touches everybody's life. So happy to be talking about it.
I know that you're very passionate about sustainability and about India's energy transition agenda. So give us a sense first of what your role at Honeywell India is all about. And two, why is it critical that all of us be interested in India's energy transition agenda at this point in time?
Sure. So I lead Honeywell's Energy and Sustainability Solutions Group for India. That includes all the technologies that go into the energy business as well as how to make our life sustainable with other products. Why it is critical? If we look at today, India is about a $4 trillion economy and we are soon going to be 10 and aspiring to be a $20 trillion economy. When we drive for this economic growth, what it will need is a huge amount of energy, huge amount of infrastructure. Today, if we are importing 70% of energy through these sources, it means we are going to need 3 to 4 times same as we march towards 10 and $20 trillion. Imagine the impact it will have on our lives. I mean, we all, for example, we see what's happening on the roads. Okay, that is cascading into the air we are breathing. Yeah. It's impacting our life and quality of how we are leading today. Imagine this gets worse by putting more cars on the road, by putting more air conditioning. We cannot afford this lifestyle degradation. Yeah. We have to rethink on how we use our resources, how we use them wisely. So for us to grow and continue this trajectory, we have to be more wiser in using these resources carefully. We have to get more out of less. If we look at where our infrastructure stands today, I think we will be, for India to become a 10 and $20 trillion economy, a lot of infrastructure has yet to be built. And what we can learn is an example that we do not have to create the mistakes which were done by others in this process. Right. An example is of a phone. Okay, India, the mobile phone, with the use of or advances in mobile phone, today it's available to everybody. We leapfrogged a generation by using that. We made smarter decisions in this technology. We could do same in the infrastructure. Why can't we build a building which is much, much more energy efficient than going through a traditional route? Why can't we build highways? Why can't we build infrastructure using the latest technologies which will serve us for next 50 to 70 years rather than going through age-old approaches?
Is that happening to a large extent in India? Are we leapfrogging ahead in terms of energy efficiency when it comes to public infrastructure?
In certain places, definitely, we are looking. We are borrowing from other experiences. We are borrowing from other learnings. Mistakes are expensive. Okay, so if somebody has made it, let's learn from that. Yeah. So yes, we are doing in terms of some of the road networks we are developing. We are trying to reuse, for example, in some places we are piloting a reuse of plastics, where we can use that plastic and improve actually the quality of the road. One of the reasons why roads break down frequently is the water that gets into it and it's unable to go away. Yeah. But by using those plastics as improvers, we can definitely have more water outlets for water, and it allows the road to stay longer and more durable. It reduces your repair cost. Yes. Allows easier flow of traffic. So yes, these are solutions which are simple and can be easily adopted on the road.
Right. Now, the global energy consumption has been on a rise, and India's average is actually 3 times more than the global average. Now, in a country like India, where we are an emerging economy, we are a developing economy, we want to grow at a very fast pace, and yet we want to balance environmental sustainability with it. What are some of the biggest challenges that we as a nation should be looking out for?
So, if we look at global energy demand, depending upon which report you read, it's expected that India will be 25 to 35% of that. So either we are going to be 1/4 or 1/3 of world energy demand.
Wow.
That's a big requirement.
Yeah.
But that requirement also puts big responsibility for us. We also have to have energy independence. Okay. So once we are looking at it, energy independence means we have to look what we have in-house. What do we have in-house? Solar, wind, water, and waste. So how do we bring all of these available resources very quickly to fruition in terms of affordable and affordable and available energy sources? So these are the challenges: is how do we utilize resources? So an example is we have seen some SAF routes, or example, biofuel routes adopted in the West. We do not have to repeat the same thing. We can do something what's local for local solution. We can take those waste available and see what are the techniques which we can deploy ourselves. Yeah. We can come up with some technology solutions ourselves for our own problems, and we can go that way. So we do not have to import and impose, but sometimes create our own solutions with what we have locally.
Right. And part of this, being responsible, developing responsible public infrastructure is the Smart City program. In India, we have seen a policy push recently, in recent years, for smart cities. Honeywell is a good collaborator with public sector in a number of areas in India. Give us a sense then of how smart cities can become far more energy efficient, far more scalable, far more replicable in different pockets of India, because we are a country of many countries, and we will perhaps need many, many smart cities to have an effective energy transition agenda. And how do you see the whole public-private partnership evolving in this space?
So for a city to be smart city to be sustainable and scalable, there are three elements of it. One, we have to use renewable energy resources available to the extent. Second, we have to have energy efficient technologies. And third, we have to have more, sustainable behavior as a part of our life. And I'll elaborate on each of these a little bit more. So we talked about three things. What we talked about was use of renewable energies, use of sustainable technologies, and third is our own behaviors, how we change, how we become more aware and sustainable, correct, in our own daily walks of life. So with that, I think I can also give an example of how, for example, Burj Khalifa, where this is implemented, correct? It's a city in itself. Yeah. Okay, the city, it has a residential area, it has a tourist area, it has a commercial area. And all of that is managed within one building with a single command center. Okay, they know exactly how many people are entering into a building at what point of time, what is the air quality in each part of it, what happens if there's a fire in a building, how do we bring all under one command, okay, and how immediately actions can be taken, because a disaster in that level and magnitude, the chances of survival are very slim, correct? So you have to have methods and systems that will avoid any of those, even with the remotest possibly. Yeah. So if we talk about that vertical city, now let's take that concept to a horizontal city, where cities like Bangalore, Pune, Delhi, Mumbai, these are big cities. And when we talk about making these smarts, there's a limit on which up to which government can do. What government needs is, okay, if I'm looking from a mobility perspective, what kind of information I have from the traffic movement? Yeah. How can I use the same system to monitor something on the part of, say, public moments? Okay, if there is a people agitation or people gathering together, how can I utilize those systems to provide them more efficient services? So that's where it will. Third, it will also look at, for example, how do I need to manage, say, water system? How do I need to manage other systems which public administration providing? So what private sector can do is keep evolving those technologies and make it available on a common platform. So anybody who is running an administration of the city has various inputs on terms of mobility, in terms of people movement, in terms of the utilities that are going into the system, and make sure that all are tied together so they can take decisions in a much smarter way, avoiding a breakdown of a city.
So, talking about technology, now Honeywell is at the forefront of technological innovations. Give us a sense of what you are doing with artificial intelligence, with Internet of Things. How are you harnessing these, especially when it comes to sustainability?
Artificial intelligence, all that we say, is pretty much in everyday life for use for every one of us. Okay, and the best example I give sometimes is a Google Maps. Okay, how it dynamically tells us what is the best route to go from A to B. To elaborate it a bit further, what does Google Maps do? It looks at what's actually happening on the ground, tells you where the traffic is, what are the best efficient routes, and how you can save fuel and time. Now, let's take that context and apply it on a broader sense on IIoT as well as in artificial intelligence in the infrastructure as well as industrial landscape. When we talk about IIoT, what does IIoT mean? It offers you connectivity between the instruments or the devices on the ground or where they are measuring, along with the systems. An example is a traffic system, correct? Where there are traffic cameras, they look at all the data, they monitor, and they are connected to a system where they can understand whether it is a traffic violation fines, whether it is a traffic movement. What this generate when we have lots and lots of cameras, lots and lots of sensors, whether they monitor air quality, they monitor traffic, it generates lot of data points. What artificial intelligence helps us is to make sure we mine that data properly. We go through that data and get more insight, which otherwise would have taken weeks, days, and months to get there.
Right.
With AI, we can get there quicker within few seconds. That's what the power of AI enable is. Now, imagine you apply that in a building context, for example. If in a building, it knows you the people movement, it tells you the occupancy, it tells you the energy usage, it tells you the air quality. You apply it over there, it automatically gives the most efficient utility usage in the building at that point of time, saving you a lot of energy which otherwise would have wasted, correct?
Right.
It avoids manual intervention each and every time. If the street lights automatically come on off depending upon the dynamic condition outside, imagine amount of energy savings that come through. Same context, if you take into an industrial concept, okay, same concept applied in an industrial concept. Starting and stopping takes a lot of time and energy. If these technologies are able to predict the insights of how an equipment is operating, based upon that, it can tell you where is the equipment's peak performance for that condition, how it will behave. And if it senses a trouble ahead of time based on certain noise, certain vibrations, it avoids you to prevent a breakdown.
True.
You can take a plant turnaround, a plant shutdown, and avoid. It avoids inconvenience to the production. It avoids wastage of material by unplanned shutdown, but it also avoids you an efficient time when things can be done. So all of these are quite critical in harnessing further. So we do see that going forward quite a lot. If I talk in sustainability, what is sustainability? Sustainability is making wise use of resources available.
True.
It
So
enables
we're seeing that in different areas.
Absolutely.
We're seeing that in industry. We're seeing that on manufacturing floors. Great. Now, we are also seeing a lot of microgrids and net zero economic zones emerging in India. These are for enhancing energy resilience and accelerating the whole transition to net zero. So give us a sense of how you see these concepts evolving in India, and what role can the private sector really play in deploying these energy efficient microgrids? What is the role that they're already playing? And, the formation of net zero economic zones in the future.
Absolutely. I think microgrids and net economic zero zones both are required, okay, as a part of India's journey for the energy transition. Let's talk first about microgrids. When we talk of microgrid is a grid which is energy efficient on its own. Now, where can it be used? Both locations. We can use in a remote locations, and we have recently deployed one in Lakshadweep, where the island is decarbonized. Okay, island has an electricity generated through solar, and with addition of our battery energy system and the grid management, it is completely off the grid. Okay, in the sense it's completely off the diesel which was being used. The energy that produced is now conserved in the batteries and reused when the solar light is not available. What has it done? Just to give an example, it used to require 20,000 liters of diesel. You don't need that anymore. So imagine the saving in fossil fuel, but imagine the boat trips that took to bring that diesel to this Lakshadweep island. So that's a very good example of battery energy system or a microgrid being implemented. That's one example. But now let's come to an urban center.
Yeah.
Where you can also use this microgrids, where you have this localized electricity production or solar and renewable energy being made available. It can also decongest or help in a peak load offering, correct? So you don't need to invest that all the time. So it also plays a role over there. How do we seamlessly integrate into that, integrate into the main grid, how it can offset and use locally available resources? It's quite key over there. So we feel that microgrids are key. The second part was on the net economic zero zone, correct? It's a zone which has committed that all activities in this zone that we do are going to be carbon neutral, which is a very fantastic concept because it means you are...
Do we have many of these in India? Yeah.
We are implementing some of these as we go along. We do have some in Gujarat we are working on. GIFT City is an example where it is being implemented. What it speaks is each of the contributor in that microeconomic zone or net zero zone is making an attempt to make sure that whatever carbon footprint we create is neutralized by some other initiatives which brings that carbon down. Again, as I said, it encourages to look at local resources, make local renewable energy, make sure it is used domestically or within that grid. And we help each other in achieving the net zero goal because it's a common net zero goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you're someone who has worked at the intersection of energy, sustainability, technology. Let's bust some myths that we have around energy transition and energy usage at individual levels as well as at company levels or enterprise levels. What are some of the common misconceptions that people have and how can we navigate these better?
The biggest myth about energy transition is it's expensive. It is not. Okay, it depends. There are several low-hanging fruits which you can utilize and start the journey. It's a journey, not a destination. Correct. We had to continue improving that. There are a lot of small things, and just an example is just by the Ujala scheme, whereby we made LED bulbs available to masses. That's the 300 million LED bulbs that were given. That's resulted in saving enormous amount of electricity that was required. So these are small changes that we can take place. Okay, it's not necessary everything is expensive all the time. Yeah. What people should look at, we call it as a carbon abatement roadmap. It means list all the activities, see which ones are giving you most carbon efficient carbon reduction opportunity, but also the cost. And pick the ones where you can drive something better. Okay, if you are able to improve the yields, convergence, efficiency, that will automatically pay out. At the same time, reduce the carbon. So we always say lay out all the options and then pick one what's the lowest hanging fruit. And you will be surprised to know there are plenty when we put the thought together.
Right. Yeah. So that's food for thought for all of us. Absolutely. And now, whether it's carbon capture technology or sustainable aviation fuels, there are a lot of exciting and emerging trends as far as technology and as far as new fuels are concerned. What is most exciting to you as a professional in the field, as a veteran of the field? What are you looking forward to in the next couple of years?
I think from India perspective, I am most excited about the biofuels, how biofuels are evolving. We already see the ethanol revolution and how ethanol revolution has changed the way we look at our gasoline demand, correct? How it has suddenly scaled up by magnitude. We are taking it further now. So when we talk about biofuels, we are also talking about compressed biogas, we are talking about SAF, we are talking about biodiesel, we are talking about biopetrol, biogasoline, so all forms of energy. What's exciting more in this is the pathways that are being developed. Okay, as of today, if just talk about SAF, for example, there are 11 approved pathways and 11 more under consideration.
Wow.
And we are just started. So there's a lot more happening in this field. For a scientist, for an engineer, this is an exciting time because it shows the investment that going is in R&D. It shows the academia interest. It shows the industry interest. It also shows how government is actively promoting the entrepreneurs, how government is actively promoting the industrialists or the academics to
Yeah.
come together and start thinking on those lines. That's what's generating this interest. So for me, that's an exciting area to watch for.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, before we wrap up, what's your advice to businesses or to individuals looking to start their own energy transition journeys? Any do's, don'ts, tips that you'd like to leave our viewers and listeners with?
I think energy transition is everybody's business, okay? It is not for big corporations, it's not for only governments. Anybody and everybody can be part of this. It starts with simple thing in the way we live, being aware of what we have, being mindful of waste, and utilizing things carefully. So that's first behavior which we can do immediately at our home. But going forward, I think being wiser in terms of planning our journeys, okay, plan it more efficiently, plan it where you can reduce your time on the road. That's the second part. When we go into industrial context, when we start designing products, when we start using product, make sure we put right practices. The tools are there, technology is there, information is available. It's putting things together. It's a journey for everybody, and everybody can be part of it.
Absolutely well said. Thank you so much, Ranjit, for joining us here today and sharing your incredible insights. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me. It was fantastic talking to you as well.
Well, with that, it's a wrap of this conversation on India's energy transition, from the transformative power of smart cities and digital technologies to the critical role of private sector collaboration. One thing is clear: innovation and partnership are the cornerstones of a sustainable future. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion and it has sparked ideas and inspired you to take actionable steps towards your own energy goals. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, it's goodbye.